anybody else would have done. Seems to me to show that they have some sense of shame left.
They have been eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They don't seem to notice this at all. But you cough.
But I haven't got a cough.
They're looking at us. What effrontery.
They're approaching. That's very forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly. It's the only thing to do.
This dignified silence produces an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful one.
But you will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing! I have something very particular to ask you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolen, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have an opportunity at meeting you.
That certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear. If you can believe him.
I don't, but that doesn't affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True. In matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital point. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might have an opportunity of coming up to town to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon the subject, but I intend to cross them. This is not the time for German skepticism. Their explanation seems satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I'm more than content with what Miss Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires absolute credulity. Yes. I mean, no.
True. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. But which one of us should tell them? The task is not a pleasant one.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An admirable idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time for me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insufferable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names, is that all? But we are going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you are prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
Please be ready to face this fearful ordeal.
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of sexes. Where questions of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
They have moments of physical courage at which we women know absolutely nothing.
Darling.
What does this mean?
Merely that I am engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mama.
Come here. Sit down! Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young or physical weakness in the old. A prize, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight, whose by trusted maid I purchased the confidence of by means of small coin. Her unhappy father is, I am pleased to say, under the impression he's attending a more than usually lengthy lecture at the university scheme on the permanent income on foot. I do not propose we undeceive him. I would find it wrong. But of course, you can perfectly find out that any communication between yourself and my daughter must be ceased immediately. From this point, as on all points, I am firm.
I'm engaged to be married to Gwendolen, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. As regards Algernon. Algernon!
Augusta.
May I ask if it is this house that your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, resides?
Oh no, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? What did Mr. Bunbury die of? His death must have been very sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did Mr. Bunbury die of?
Oh, he was quite Exploded.
Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I was not aware he took interest in social legislation. If he did, he was rightfully punished for his morbidity.
My dear Augusta, I mean to say, Bunbury was found out. The doctors discovered that Bunbury could not live. That's what I mean. So Bunbury died.
He seems to have great confidence in his physicians, and I am glad to see he's decided on a direct course of action and acted upon proper medical advice while doing so. Now that we are rid of this Mr. Bunbury and Mr. Worthing, may I ask who is this young girl who is holding my nephew Algernon's hand in the most peculiar, unnecessary manner?
This lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know if there is something particularly exciting about the air in this part of Hertfordshire, but the amount of engagements go on seem to be above what the statistics have laid down for our proper guidance. I think some preliminary inquiries on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew connected to any larger railway stations in London? I asked merely for information. Until yesterday, I had no idea anyone's origin or family could be traced to a terminus.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Fifeshire, N.B.
Three addresses always inspires confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof do I have of their authenticity?
I have carefully preserved the court guides of the period, Lady Bracknell. They are open to your inspection.
I have known strange error in this area of publicity.
Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, and Markby.
Their firm is of the very highest profession. And I've been told one of the Mr. Markbys is to be seen at evening parties. So far, I am satisfied.
How extremely generous of you, Lady Bracknell. I also have in my possession, you will be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the English and the German variety.
A life crowded with incident, I see. Almost too much excitement for such a young girl. I in no way approve of premature experiences. Come on, Gwendolen, we have not a moment to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, may I ask if Miss Cardew has any little fortune?
Oh, about 130,000 pounds in the funds. That's all. Bye-bye, Lady Bracknell. So pleased to have seen you.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. 130,000 pounds. And in the funds. Miss Cardew looks a fairly attractive young girl now that I look at her. Few girls these days have any real qualities. Qualities that last and improve with time. We live in, I regret to say, an age of surfaces. Come here, dear. Your dress is sadly simple and your hair looks as though nature may have left it. However, that can quite easily be altered. Yes, Mr. Worthing, a thoroughly experienced French maid can produce a rather marvelous effect in such a brief space of time. I remember recommending one to a young lady Lansing. And after 3 months, her own husband couldn't recognize her.
After 6 months, nobody could recognize her.
Kindly turn, dear. It is the side view that I want. Yes, It is exactly as I thought. There are a few distinct social possibilities in your profile. The two problems with today's society are the one for principle and the one for profile. Chin a little higher, dear. Fashion is largely decided on the way the chin is worn, and it is worn very high at the present. Algernon.
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
There are a few distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the prettiest girl in the entire world, and I don't give two pence about social possibilities.
Do not speak badly about society, Algernon! Only people who cannot get into it do that. Dear child, you must know Algernon has nothing but his debts to rely on. And I know I approve of mercenary marriages. Then again, when I married Lord Bracknell, I had no small fortune at all, but I did not let that stand in my way. So, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
May kiss me, Cecily.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
And for the future, you may address me as Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The wedding, I think, should happen soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I'm not a fan of long engagements. They allow one to find out the other's character, something that I think is never strongly advisable.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but this marriage is quite out of the question. I'm Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent until she legally comes of age. And that consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? My nephew Algernon is a perfectly, if I may say, ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What else can one desire?
Pains me very much to speak frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, about your own nephew. But the fact is, I don't much approve of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon! Impossible! He is an Oxonian!
I'm afraid there can be no possible doubt on the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London on an important question of romance, he obtained entrance to my house by means of the false pretense of being my brother. Under the assumed name, he drank, I have just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier Shoot Fruit 89. Wine that I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea, where he devoured every single mountain. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he was well aware from the first that I have no brother, Ernest, that I never had a brother, and that I have not the intention to having one in the future. I told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided to completely overlook any conduct my nephew has to you.
How extremely generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, dear. How old are you?
Well, I'm only 18, but I'm mid-20s for an evening party.
Oh, you are quite right in making a slight alteration. A woman should never be quite so accurate about her age. It's so calculating. 18 and admitting to 20 evening parties. It won't be long before you're of age and free of this tutelage, so I don't think that your guardian's consent is of much importance.
Pray excuse me for interrupting you again, Lady Bracknell, but according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not legally come of age until she is 35.
I do not see why this is a very grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. In London society as it is, there are plenty of women who have been living at the age of 35 for years. Lady Dumpton, for instance, in this point, she has, since her arrival here at the age of 40, been living at the age of 35, and that was many years ago now.
Algie, could you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could. No, I could.
I felt it instinctively, but I couldn't wait for all that time. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. It always makes me rather cross. And I'm not punctual myself, I know. But I do like punctuality in others. And waiting to be married? That is out of the question.
Well, what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
Mr. Worthy, as Miss Cardew has positively stated, she cannot wait until she is 35. A remark, I must say, seems to display rather impatient nature, but I must beg you to reconsider your decision.
My own dear Lady Bracknell, the matter is entirely in your hands. The moment you consent to my marriage with Gwendolen, I'll most gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
But of course, you know what you're asking is completely out of the question.
And passionate celibacy is all that any of us can look forward to.
Then that is the destiny that I've decided for Gwendolen. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself. Come, Gwendolen, we've already missed 5, if not 6 trains at the platform. Any more, and we might be at risk!
Everybody's quite ready for the christening!
Is that not somewhat premature?
Both these gentlemen expressed a desire for immediate baptism, Lady Bracknell.
Baptism. Advantage. The idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell will be very displeased if he found out this is the way you are wasting your time and money.
I to understand that there be no christenings at all this afternoon.
I do not think, as things are now, it would be of much practical value to any of us, Dr. Toswell.
I grieve to hear such sentiments from Mr. Worthy. They savor of the radical views of the Anabaptists, which I have completely refuted in 4 of my last unpublished sermons. And since your present mood seems one peculiarly secular, I will leave for the church at once. Indeed, I've been informed by the pupil of last hour and a half Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Pray, let me detain you a moment. Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I'm on my way to join her.
Is this Miss Prism a female of a repellent aspect, somewhat to do with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies, with a very picture of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she holds in your household?
I am a celibate, madam. Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, has been for the last 3 years Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
But despite what I have heard of her, I must see her. Let her be sent for at once.
She approaches. She's not.
I was told you were waiting for me in the vestry, J. Cannon. I've been waiting for an hour and 3/4.
Prism! Come here, Prism. Prism, where is that baby? 28 years ago, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104 Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator containing a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, after an investigation of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was located in a remote corner of Bayswater, standing alone at midnight. In it, it contained a volume novel of the most revolting sentiment. But the baby was not there. Where is that baby, Prism?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame, I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day that you mentioned, a day forever branded on my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its perambulator. I also had with me a somewhat old, capacious handbag that I intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction that I had written in my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction for which I could never forgive myself, I placed the manuscript in the bassinet and the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, this is a matter of no small importance to me. I insist on knowing where you deposit the handbag that contained the infant.
I left it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations in London.
What
railway station.
Victoria. The Brighton line.
Must retire to my room a moment. Gwendolen, wait here for me.
You're not too long. I will wait here for you all my life.
I dare not even suspect Dr. Johnson. The position of my family's coincidences are not supposed to occur. They're hardly even considered a thing.
Uncle Jack seems extremely agitated.
Her guardian is very emotional nature.
Oh, it sounds very unpleasant. I dislike this noise. It's very much like an argument. I don't like arguments. Anyway, well, it was very convincing.
Suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.